Hey everybody, welcome to poker vlog number 6 for the Yo Poker YouTube channel. Now today's poker vlog is about a cash game, just a home game, just a home private game. Now the game we used to have is a 50-cent $1 blind. Now this game is a little bit different. So the house has decided that they're going to change the blinds to 50-cent, 50-cent. So this is what this one's about. They have changed the buy-in amount though from $20 to $30. So now it is effectively 60 big blinds. So that has got a little bit better, which is fantastic. But yeah, so they've just decided to just have the small blind and the big blind 50-cent, 50-cent. So let's start off with some hands. So the first notable hand of the night, we're in big blind. We look down at Jack 4 unsuited, so not the greatest hand to start with. Now we do have a middle position that calls the bet of 50 cents, the blind of 50 cents. We then have one behind the button also call. The button calls, the small blind checks, and it's up to me to act. So I actually decide on check here, just to see the flop, just to get a cheap flop. So the flop comes Jack 8 Jack. So we've hit trip straight away, which is fantastic. And it's going to be quite well disguised in a big blind. So the small blind actually bets out into this. So the small blind bets $2. Now the pot is $2.50 at this stage. So I decide I'm just going to flat call here and hopefully get somebody else to call. Well, that happens. Under the gun decides on a call as well, and everybody else folds. So the three of us go into a turn. Now the turn is a 7. Doesn't get a flush draw or anything there, so all complete rainbow. So there's nothing really to worry about on this hand too much, except for if somebody else has a jack. So the small blind bets another $2. Now, don't know whether I should raise here or whether I should just call, but I do want to try and get under the gun in as well, especially with no flush draw really being present. There is a straight draw that could have potentially got there, but I'm not too concerned about that, to be honest. So I just call the $2, and under the gun also calls the $2. So here we go. I think at this stage, I think I'm in front. Well, the river comes the 8, so I know I'm definitely in front here. The only thing that can really be worrying me is pocket 8, but I don't think they've got pocket 8s in this position. I just don't think it's realistic. Now the small blind bets $3, and into that side of the pot, I think that's quite a weak bet by him. In my head, I'm thinking that he might have an 8, but I think he probably bets a little bit more there with the 8. Possibly he could be worried about a jack, and that could have been a defensive bet, but I decide I'm going to raise here, so I decide I'll raise to $11. Now, under the gun snap folds, and then it comes around a small blind and he thinks for about a minute. I'm hoping he calls, because I knew as soon as he didn't snap call or snap raise me that I was definitely winning here. So he decides to call, so he calls my $11. I throw over my Jack 4 for full house, Jack full of 8s, and he mucks his hand. So I don't actually know what he had. I don't think he had the 8. I think that he bets more on the river there. I'm thinking maybe that he could have had slightly a smaller pair and he was just trying to bluff the river, but that is a small bluff bet. Potentially he could have had like an ace 2 maybe as well, or an ace something, ace rag, and hoping that his ace high will be good there with the 2 pair, and then maybe thinks I'm making a play back at him. So I reckon that's probably what he thought. But yeah, I get a good win there. So great start to the night. Okay, so for the next noteworthy hand, we're actually on the button here. We look down at ace 3 of diamonds. Now, basically everybody calls on the way to us. Now, I have a decision to make here. Now, I think I played this really badly, so I'm going to tell you what I did, but I regretted it as soon as I did it. So I just called the 50 cents here. Now, to me, this was a ridiculous play. I should have definitely raised here. With that many people in the pot, I should have definitely raised. Just to get out some of those really weird hands that could have easily beat me on the flop. And just try and ace 3 suited on the button is enough strength to, push there with a decent raise, and I just really played this badly. So anyway, it comes around, the small blind obviously checks, and the big blind checks as well. So we come seven runners to the flop. Now the flop comes 5, 5, 10, 2 diamonds. So not a bad flop for us, but definitely someone could have the trips here, especially with 7 runners, and I don't know. So anyway, it gets checked all around to me. This doesn't mean anything to me. It means that somebody could be trapping. Now, I decide that I do need to raise here because I need to get out any hands, and potentially I could go decently one way or 2 ways to the turn. So I decided on a raise of $3. Now the pot at this stage was $3.50, so I was close to a pot raise. Now everyone folds except for a middle position who calls the bet. So it's just me and one other, which is a better proposition for me. So the turn comes to 2 of spades. Now this is a very interesting card for my hand. It actually gives me more out. So now I just need the 4, or I need a diamond. So I decide on a check for a free card after he checks to me. Now I think this is a really silly play, to be honest. I think I should have put pressure on. I think I should have, if I had a bet, say, of $5 here, I could actually win this pot without going to showdown. Now, if he obviously called me once I put a $5 raise in, or even a 6, I was thinking about that size in somewhere. I have to think that he's probably got trips here. He probably can't call with anything less than trips, or maybe a 10 with an ace, but I just don't think he can call anything else with that. So, but I checked, which was a really silly play. So anyway, the river comes the 8 of hearts. So I completely brick everything. Now he snap goes all in. Now, this is a tough decision for me, because this player that went all in, he is known to potentially bluff like this. So it was going to cost me $21 to call. So I just didn't think there was probably enough in the pot to justify this call, especially to make a hero call like this. After only really betting $3.50, I didn't think that it was really worth trying to chase that $3.50 for a 21 bet. So I did fold this, and he didn't show what he had, but I just think in too many spots there you are beat. But I included this one because it's just a hand that I really played terribly, and I'm like, it was such a bad hand that I played, and I think that it's a really good lesson for everybody that's listening to actually hear, because sometimes you can be too passive on the flop. Pre-flop, sorry. So if I had have even bet, say, $5 pre-flop, there was already so much money in the pot that even if I only get one caller, I can then play it a little bit more aggressively and win that pot. But I could have easily taken down the pot there and not even gone on. And that's not a bad little pot size for the... So then we come to the second last interesting hand of this vlog. So I'm in late position, 7, 8 of spades. So I'm definitely going to call here. So it gets just called around to me and I call. So we go 5 ways to the flop. The flop comes 5, 5, 7. Now everyone checks to me. I've only got one person to act behind me, the button. So I decided I was going to put in a raise of $4 here. So I raised $4, thinking that I could potentially just win this with a bet. Well, that didn't happen, unfortunately. The small blind called me, and a middle position also called me. So we're going 3 ways to the turn. The turn comes the king. They both check to me. I decided on a check here. I think this was probably the best play at the time. With 2 callers, I potentially could definitely be up against trips here. But also, like, my 7, somebody could have out-kicked me. So I think the check is the right one, and the king coming as well might have potentially hit someone on the board. So anyway, I checked, and the river comes the 9. Now the small blind leads out for $6.50. The middle position folds automatically. Now I have a decision to make. Now I'm tossing this one up because the small blind is very, very well known for bluffing. Extremely well known for bluffing, and he's known to actually actually just raise when he senses weakness. He's quite a good talented player. So I don't know what to do here. But anyway, I decided on a call, just because I just thought that 50% of the time I'm going to be right here. And unfortunately, this one wasn't the other 50%. So this one I was wrong. He throws over Jack 5 for trips. So yeah, not a great hand, but I definitely could have probably got away from this on the river there. I don't think I need to pay that bet off. So I think it was a good bet into me, especially with his image. If it had been anybody else, I definitely wouldn't have paid it off. So well done to him for actually betting, but unfortunately we would lose this one. Okay, the last interesting hand of the night. I'm in middle position. I wake up with Queen Jack unsuited. So comes around to me. I decide I'm going to raise here. So I just raised $2.50 here. No one had called before me, so we only had $1 in the pot. So I thought $2.50 would be okay. Well, then the late position calls, the button calls, and the small blind and big blind both call as well. So we're going 5 ways to the flop. Not great with Queen Jack, but not much I can do about it. Well, the flop comes King, Queen, 4. So King, Queen, 4. Now, not the greatest flop for my hand. I'm a little bit worried about, obviously, anybody with a king here. Well, it gets checked to me, so small blind and big blind both check. I decide I'm definitely going to have to raise here just to see where I'm at. So I decided on a raise of $5. Now, that was about half the pot, so I probably could make a decision. I could have probably bet a little bit higher here to get that information a little bit better. I reckon if I had a bet, say 758, somewhere around that, you have to have a king to call me there, because there wasn't any flush draw present, so it was a rainbow. So anyway, it gets folded around to small blind, who calls me, and big blind folds. So we're only going 2 ways to the turn. The turn comes to 10. Still rainbow, so no suits have connected up here. He checks to me. Now I think he's trying to trap me here. I think he's definitely got a king here. And I don't want to bet into it in case he does. Now, obviously, I do have the straight draw now as well. So any 8 or any 9 will give me that straight. So I just take a free card here. So I check. And then the river's a great river for us. It's actually the queen. So we trip up. Now, he checks straight away. Now, I think that he definitely has the king here, and I think that he's just trying to get to showdown cheaply. So I've got to decide on what I think he will call. So my last bet was $5. So we've got a little bit in the pot now. So I decided to make a bet of $10. I think this is the right play here. I think it's enticing enough that if you have a king, you probably have to call. But I can definitely get away from it if he goes all in. Now, with the Queen Jack, I probably wouldn't get away with it because he only had about 30 behind him, but there is still a possibility. But he doesn't decide on that. He decides just to call. So he calls. I flip over my Queen Jack for trips. He laughs, obviously, and shows a king. So I was spot on there. Very happy with how I played this hand. I think checking on the turn really saved me money there because I really think he was going for a check raise on the turn, and when I didn't bite, I think that I gave myself an option to actually win the hand. I think that if I had have definitely bet on the turn, he definitely would have check raised. So yeah, I think sometimes players do decide to be a little bit more aggressive here, and a lot of people are probably saying, oh, well, I definitely would have bet on the turn because I don't think he was going to raise you. But sometimes just playing a little bit passively when you do have showdown value isn't a bad thing. Because if he had checked on the river there and I hadn't hit trips, I then can make a decision and I could easily check it back and hopefully win with my queen. Or I could make a play on the river there. But by checking the turn, I definitely took away his chance to check raise me. So very happy with how I played this hand, and it was a great end to the night. Okay, so we've come to the end of the night. So we bought in for only $30 for the whole night. We only had the one buy-in. Just kept grinding and grinding all night, really. Got one or two lucky hands, one or two well-played hands. But I ended up cashing out $45. So a profit of 15. So my profit continues, which was really good for these stakes. I'm very happy I got another winning session. So it's not a bad little outcome for me. I lost a little bit on the last hand. Not that last hand we documented here, but just on the last hand of the night that I played, I lost probably $10. But it wasn't really notable. It was just a pre-race before the flop. So I would have probably walked away with probably, a cash of 50, 55, somewhere around there. But yeah, dropped a little bit at the end. So, but still, $15 profit isn't too bad. Now, obviously, this is a cash vlog. Now, this will be the last cash vlog for a little bit now. We are going to some tournaments up into the Gold Coast over the next few weeks. And we'll also be going to the Southern Poker Tour in Harndorf, which is in South Australia, after that. So the next few vlogs are actually going to be tournament vlogs. I'm also going to be putting up some videos shortly of some player interviews. So I'm going to be interviewing a few players that I play with, and just a few from these tournaments, just to see how they view poker and just to see how some of their biggest ups and biggest downs in poker. So definitely check that out. If you haven't liked or subscribed to the channel, that would be fantastic. You just won't miss out on any videos. There's going to be some very interesting interviews coming up and some very interesting vlogs. Hopefully I can go all the way with the APL Million. It will be 250,000 guaranteed first prize. So hopefully we can say that I'll win that. So yeah, now if you want to check out any of our other videos, they're just obviously just popped up on the screen. And there's also other lists there of all of our poker vlogs as well. So thank you again for watching, and we shall see you next time.